Hello and welcome, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Dr. Madison Oak. I'm a vestibular physical therapist, and I'm here to help you with all things dizziness and vertigo. Today, I want to cover two of the biggest misconceptions that I see in dizziness treatment. The first most common misconception is that dizziness is just anxiety. Now, dizziness definitely causes anxiety. That is a really huge thing that people deal with, right? I mean, dizziness, feeling like you are going to fall through the floor, or feeling like your head is a bobblehead, or feeling the room is spinning around you, or feeling like you are spinning or you are rocking back and forth. All of those different things are really scary, and therefore, that is anxiety producing. Now, that does not mean that anxiety is the cause of your dizziness. Now, anxiety and dizziness can play on each other in a cycle and make each other worse, but that does not mean, again, that anxiety is the cause of your dizziness. Dizziness and anxiety are also processed in a lot of the same places in your brain. One of those places is called the insula, another one is called the parabrachial nucleus. There are because those two kind of places in our brain where we process information, process both dizziness and anxiety, and they're super close together. Sometimes your brain can kind of start to get those two signals jumbled. So when you get dizziness, it's going to make your anxiety worse. And so then when you get more anxiety about something, whether you weren't super dizzy before it, you have a history of a dizziness disorder and you go through a really stressful time, that's going to add to this dizziness and say, oh my gosh, we're not safe anymore. Let's be dizzy, because dizziness is nothing more than an anxiety signal or than a help signal, right? Your brain is saying, help, help, help. There's something going on in my head. I don't really know what it is. That help signal is what your brain's trying to say. It's just your body trying to talk to you. Say, hey, something is wrong, something going on. And that looks like dizziness. And again, that's triggering anxiety, and the anxiety is triggering dizziness. And you kind of go in this spirally type of circle. Now, breaking the dizzy, anxious, dizzy cycle is something that we do a lot of in vestibular group fit. I am not a cognitive behavioral therapist. I am not that kind of therapist, but I am excellent at helping with critical thinking and helping you think through these symptoms to make them not so scary and introduce yourself back into a world where everything isn't so scary and things can be a little bit safer. That's a lot of what we do in vestibular group fit. So you can join me in that program at any time to help with that. Now, again, your anxiety is not the root cause of dizziness, and I'd say 99.999% of people. But just because you got dizzy once means you can continue to get dizzy because your anxiety is getting worse. I have a patient in particular who he comes to see me when something really hugely stressful comes and happens in his life. He's like, I'm dizzy again. And it's because when those stress levels go up, because he has this history of a dizziness disorder, he has a history of vestibular neuritis. When those dizziness signals come up, his 3PD, or that persistent postural perceptual dizziness, kind of starts to ring back up a little bit, and it says, hey, we're going to be dizzy again a little bit. And that's when he really has to focus on himself, prioritizing himself, asking for help where he needs it, and de-stressing as much as possible. Is de-stressing the only way to get rid of your dizziness? Absolutely not. There are a lot of things we have to do in order to make dizziness abate or be less or help dizziness in general. But stress relief and regulating your nervous system, saying I can be calmer, things like that are really going to help. The next misconception that I see a ton of is that you can't do anything about dizziness. And a lot of people go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, it's just your anxiety and there's nothing you can do about it. Calm down. That is so not helpful information, like whatsoever. Dizziness comes from a lot of different places. And again, there are so many things you could do about it. My personal four favorite pillars to managing dizziness is movement, mindset, education, and support. You should be moving your body on a regular basis. It enhances neuroplasticity. It helps us calm our body down. It gives tons and tons and tons of happy hormones to our body and does lots of other good stuff too for your body, right? We all know we need to exercise. But when you're dizzy, it's really hard to exercise. It's really hard to move your body. So I will help you personally walk through how exactly to do that in vestibular group fit. The next favorite of my pillars is mindset. So if your dizziness, if your symptoms are causing so much anxiety that you cannot leave the house, or you're having a really hard time doing things throughout the day, whatever that looks like for you, you might need a little bit of extra help with that. And I can help you with the critical thinking side, right? I'm really great at critical thinking and kind of helping you think through these symptoms, but I am not that kind of therapist. So a referral to a cognitive behavioral therapist or an acceptance and commitment therapist can be really helpful. And it can also be really helpful to get a medication that's going to help abate some of that anxiety. So something like an SSRI or an SNRI with you and your headache specialist can also be super helpful. And it's actually part of the gold standard of persistent postural perceptual dizziness, which is a very common form of chronic dizziness treatment. The next is support. People who are around you, although there's a lot of dizziness in the world, it's a lot of times very frequently happening that people around you just don't understand, and you don't feel like you can talk to them, or they don't feel like they can support you or whatever. But getting that support system is really, really helpful. So whether it's an online community, whether it's in vestibular group fit, whether it's you find someone on Instagram or someone in your neighborhood who also has a vestibular disorder, getting that kind of chronic support can be really, really helpful and really empowering. Seeing, I saw this person do this, so I know I can do that. But there are lots of things you can do about dizziness. Don't forget it. The last one is education. The more you know about your vestibular disorder, the more you know about your vestibular disorder. And that means you'll feel more empowered to do things for yourself and how to talk to your doctor about your vestibular disorder. And so that can be really helpful as well. Going down a list of things we can do about our dizziness in those four pillars, of course, but I also want to talk to you about medications. I know we touched on it a little bit, but depending on your diagnosis, your medication regimen might look different. So someone with vestibular neuritis and triple PD is going to look different than someone with vestibular migraine, for example. Now, there are lots of medications for vestibular migraine, not a ton for vestibular neuritis, if any, none for BPPV, but that doesn't leave off the fact that there's still things you can do. You do not have to live with dizziness forever, and that is a hill I will die on, I swear. You do not have to be dizzy every day forever. Just because you even live with a chronic vestibular disorder, like if you live with vestibular migraine, which is super, super common, I have another video about that, that does not necessarily mean that you are going to be dizzy forever. So there's lots of stuff you can do to help yourself live with a vestibular disorder rather than avoiding everything and living around a vestibular disorder. Hopefully, this helps you understand two of the biggest misconceptions in dizziness. One, that it's just your anxiety, and number two, that there's nothing you can do about it. There's tons you can do about it, whether it is taking a medication or whether it is moving your body, working on your mindset, working on breathing, working on your autonomic nervous system, whatever that looks like for you. Dizziness does not have to be forever. Talk to you soon.